Alright, so in this problem, I have 2 to the power of x minus 2 to the power of y is equal to 120. So just looking at this problem, we can see that x is going to be greater than y. And this is because if x were less than y, then this would result in this here equaling a negative number. But because x is greater than y, this is why it's going to equal a positive number. Meaning, if x is greater than y, then x is going to equal y plus some number k. So k is a constant. So now, if I go ahead and replace x with y plus k, I get 2 to the power of y plus k minus 2 to the power of y is equal to 120. Now, if I have something in the form a to the power of m plus n, this is equal to a to the power of m times a to the power of n. So 2 to the power of y plus k, and we write that as 2 to the power of y times 2 to the power of k. Now I have this minus 2 to the power of y is equal to 120. Now if I factor out 2 to the power of y, I get 2 to the power of y times 2 to the power of k minus 1 is equal to 120. So now this gives me two equations. I have 2 to the power of, before that actually, 120, I can go ahead and rewrite as 8 times 15. So now, as you see, this is going to give me two equations. We can think of 2 to the power of y as 8 and 2 to the power of k minus 1 as 15. Because 2 to the power of y, this is going to be an even number, right? 2 to the power of any number is an even number. And 2 to the power of k minus 1, well, 2 to the power of k, that's an even number, and an even number minus 1, that's going to be an odd number. So notice how this is in the form a number times a number is equal to number times a number, meaning this number is going to equal this number, and this number is equal to this number. So now I have 2 to the power of y is equal to 8, and 2 to the power of k minus 1 is equal to 15. So for 2 to the power of y equals 8, y is going to equal 3, because 2 to the power of 3 is 8. So that's our solution for y. And for 2 to the power of k minus 1, add 1 on both sides. I get 2 to the power of k is equal to 16, meaning k is 4. So now that we have our value for y and k, remember x is equal to k plus y, meaning x equals 4 plus 3, which is 7. So these are my solutions. Alright, so in this problem, I have x to the power of 4 is equal to x minus 1 to the power of 4. So to solve this, I'm going to first start by subtracting x minus 1 to the power of 4 on both sides. So then these two cancel out, and now I have x to the power of 4 minus x minus 1 to the power of 4 is equal to 0. Now, x to the power of 4, that's the same thing as x squared to the power of 2. And x minus 1 to the power of 4, that's the same thing as x minus 1 squared to the power of 2. So now this is equal to 0. Now, if I have something in the form a squared minus b squared, this is equal to a plus b times a minus b. So in this case, a is x squared, and b is x minus 1 squared. So now I have x squared plus x minus 1 squared times x squared minus x minus 1 squared. This is equal to 0. Now, x minus 1 squared, let's go ahead and expand that. That's going to equal x squared minus 2x plus 1. So I have x squared plus x squared minus 2x plus 1 times x squared minus x squared plus 2x minus 1. Because remember, you got to distribute the negative sign. And this is equal to 0. So now, let's go ahead and simplify this. X squared plus x squared is 2x squared. So I have 2x squared minus 2x plus 1 times x squared cancel out. So just 2x minus 1 is equal to 0. So now this gives me two equations. I have 2x minus 1 is equal to 0, and I have 2x squared minus 2x plus 1 is equal to 0. So for 2x minus 1 equals 0, x is simply equal to 1/2. That's a simple equation. And now for 2x squared minus 2x plus 1, we're going to use the quadratic formula, which is negative b. So negative of negative 2 plus or minus the square root of b squared negative 2 squared, which is 4, minus 4 times a, which is 2, times c, which is 1. And all of this over 2a, so 2 times 2, which is 4. And now this is the same thing as positive 2 plus or minus the square root of 4 minus 8 is negative 4 over 4. And as you can see, we have the square of a negative number, which we can't do. So my only solution here is x equals 1/2. So x equals 1/2 is my answer. All right, so in this problem, I have 7x to the power of 5 minus 7x is equal to 0. So to solve this, I'm going to first start by factoring out 7. So now I get 7 times x to the power of 5 minus x is equal to 0. Now I can go ahead and divide both sides by 7. So then these two cancel out, and now I'll be left with x to the power of 5 minus x is equal to 0. Now from here, I can go ahead and factor out x. So now I have x times x to the power of 4 minus 1 is equal to 0. And now, this is going to give me two equations. My first is x equals 0, which is a solution. So I have one solution for x already. My second is x to the power of 4 minus 1 is equal to 0. So to solve this, I'm going to first rewrite x to the power of 4 here as x to the power of 2 times 2. And if I have something in the form a to the power of m times n, this is equal to a to the power of m to the power of n. So x to the power of 2 times 2, I can rewrite that as x to the power of 2 to the power of 2. Now if this minus 1, 1 is the same thing as 1 squared, which is equal to 0. And now if I have something in the form a squared minus b squared, this is equal to a plus b times a minus b. So in this case, a is x squared and b is 1. So now I have x squared plus 1 times x squared minus 1. And this is equal to 0. So now this gives me two equations again. I have x squared plus 1 is equal to 0, and I have x squared minus 1 is equal to 0. So for x squared minus 1 equals 0, I add 1 on both sides, so I get x squared is equal to 1, meaning x is equal to positive or negative 1. And for x squared plus 1 equals 0, I get x squared is equal to negative 1, meaning x is equal to positive or negative I.